Hello, my name is John Hawley, and I am principal at the Center for Math and Science in Rock Island, Illinois.
I'm Ian Scott, principal at Thomas Jefferson in Milan, Illinois, and we are your MyRock podcast hosts.
MyRock celebrates what makes RIMSD 41 thrive. Each episode shares inspiring stories and insights from behind the scenes, sharing the heart of our schools.
The podcast also supports our 2030 strategic plan by fostering connections, building relationships, and strengthening communication within our district and our community.
Thank you to all the listeners who've joined us tonight. And remember to share, like, and subscribe where you get your podcasts.
If you're feeling generous, give us 5 stars. Tell a friend to give us a listen.
And now we'll take you to our first episode with Rock Island's very own Mike Mertel.
All right, so my name is Mike Mertel. Thank you for inviting me on the podcast and being the first guest. I'm truly honored to be around great company. I am a teacher at the high school, Rock Island High School. I'm in my 12th year of teaching world studies to freshmen there, and then I'm also one of the coordinators for the Education Internship program at the high school, and I sponsor the Culture Club there, so we host Culture Fest each year as well.
And that's really, the educational internship is one of the things that really caught our eye and has for years, because it's important. It's something that we have here in the district that's very unique, and that's something, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how that came to be.
Yeah, so it is unique in the area here. I have the benefit of where I went to high school, Hoffman Estates High School in the Chicago area, had a program that was similarly designed in a way. I would like to think that I enhanced it when I brought it to Rock Island High School. But when I was a senior in high school, I knew that I was interested in teaching. My mom was a paraprofessional growing up, so I saw how much she was invested in teaching and working with students and the passion that she had. So I was interested at the beginning, but that experience really just confirmed it for me. And I saw when I got to college, I went to Augustana College here in the area. When I got to college, I saw the advantage that I had having lived experience working with students, executing lessons, differentiating in the classroom. So when I was in college classrooms learning about pedagogy and different methods, I was able to connect those to that real experience. And so I worked with some district leaders at the time to create our own version of it here at Rocky, and it's just kind of grown and taken off since then.
Well, let's talk about that growth a little bit. So currently, what do we have in the program? How many students do we have in the program?
Currently, we have 40, just over 40 students, juniors and seniors in the program. Started in 2020 was our first year of the program, which was not the ideal year to start with the pandemic. It was definitely a different year. And at the time, we had about 15 students that were participating. So since then, it's almost grown threefold in that time. We've been really intentional to not just on growing the enrollment, but which students we're recruiting and getting into the program. One of the major goals of the program was to see students from different backgrounds enter teaching. Rock Island School District, Milan School District is the most diverse, or one of the most diverse in the state of Illinois, and we want our teaching staff to reflect that as well. So we're really proud that we've got 12 multilingual students in the program, more male students, students from different backgrounds that are underrepresented in the teaching workforce. So,
no, it's great. I mean, I was looking, doing some research behind it a little bit, because I know we've got students that come into our buildings. John, you and I both do, and they're always top notch, and they're asking good questions, and they're supporting, and you should see them interact with our kids. It's awesome. And to see that and foster that in a program that's going to lead to something a little bit bigger, that's pretty cool. That is really neat. I know John and I used to talk about, and this kind of leads into what this program is all about. John and I used to talk about post-secondary certification a lot, and that was something that I know you brought to me and said, this is really a big focus, and we should be looking at those things. And this is really what this is all about. There's a lot of certification that can come through this, professional certification, sub-certification, all these things that lead into this, and it's wonderful. It's great. So maybe that might not be a full-blown teaching career, but there can be an education in some way, shape, or form, and that post-secondary certification is a huge part of what you guys are doing. So I thank you. It's great to see some of those things that are out there, that we have talent that is already in our district.
And I think anybody who knows Mike in this district, so the people that are watching from outside the district, Mike is just one of those integral people to be in so many different parts. He's all around the district. He's always with kids. You can see his passion and his positivity at all times. And I guess I want to go back to a little bit into your heart, and you described a little bit from growing up and seeing your mom, but I mean, anybody who sees you working with kids sees this inner passion that you have. And I'd like to ask, where does that come from? Where does your drive come from? What motivates you to be this difference maker in our district?
I think I live off of other people's energy. So I know you said like I'm positive or high energy. I think I try to feed off of other people's, and when I'm in a room full of students who are engaged, I get more energized. So I think that motivates me just to build engaging lessons and to hear student voice, because I want to go to a job. I want to go into my classroom knowing that it's going to be that place. So I'm willing to put in the work to build that space. So I think, that's what motivates me, is just having an opportunity to interact with kids, with students.
I find that to be an interesting answer, because here you're talking about the students motivating you, and one of the reasons we came together on this podcast is because there's so much rhetoric in our society about where education is, and you can see Instagram reels where teachers are talking about getting out of the profession and the behaviors that they have in their classrooms and the more support they need, all the different negatives. You're highlighting the positives. How do you separate yourself from those negative situations to the point where now you're saying, look, I'm going and I'm the one who's inspired, not the students?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's nature of humanity, right? Of getting fixated on negative examples of things. But I think when we look for the good is out there. So something I strive to do is to make positive phone calls, especially at the start of the year. And part of that is to build family connections, but also when I'm looking for a positive incident from a student, whether it's they said something really insightful in class or they were compassionate to someone else, when you're looking for those things, they are happening. But it's kind of our human nature sometimes to neglect or just not to pay attention to as much. So I think if we can, as teachers or just individuals in society, if we can kind of motivate ourselves or be mindful of looking for those moments, it's going to help us build relationships, but it's also going to help our state of mind going into our work or going into life.
Yeah, I think the passion shines through, and it always does. And you get to work with kids through this educational internship that this could potentially be that passion that they have for the rest of their life. And you feeding off that energy, that's just got to be energizing every day. And that's what we look. I know, John, you've been in several different settings. You've been in the high school, you've been in the junior high, you've been in the elementary. And I think that one of the things that I've heard you say that kind of stuck out is that dealing with the kids in the elementary age, it just gives you so much energy. It's tiring, but it gives you so much energy because they have so much energy, and you do feed off of that. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time I heard somebody kind of put it into words like that. But thinking about that it absolutely is kind of what we do. We've got to feed off some of that, and we got to keep the ball rolling as far as the positivity goes. So yeah, thanks, Mike. That's a great insight. Great insight.
Hey, Mike, you've talked a lot about the internship program, but you also mentioned earlier about the cultural programs that you're involved with. Would you talk to our listeners about your involvement with that, how you got started, and where that is? Talk to us more about that.
Yeah, for sure. So something that I think I'm proud of myself in terms of my career is being able to see a need in our community, in our school district, and kind of finding ways to connect with people that are going to help to fill that need. So about 5 years ago, Mr. Garros, who's a EL teacher at the high school, we were talking just casually, and and talking about the different clubs that were offered at Rock Island High School. And there are several like specific cultural groups. Like there's a Lasso group for Latino students. There's a African American Heritage Club, and different groups like that. But there wasn't at the time a kind of a catch-all for all students to not only express and learn about their own cultures, but to make connections with others from different cultures and learn about them and appreciate them. And so we worked together to shape the club and have brought some other teachers on board. And it kind of culminates each year in our Culture Fest event held in May. And that's probably my favorite, most stressful, but favorite day of the year. Getting outside organizations, families, students, the opportunity to showcase a different side of themselves than we see every day in the classrooms. That's what fills me, is just seeing that empowerment that they take on.
You mentioned the term stress, and I think in education today, one of the biggest mistakes is we ask too much of teachers. The typical day, the typical responsibilities. What's your advice for a teacher who is just feeling so stressed out with where education is today, or where I am with my classes and the number of students I have, the behaviors I have, keeping up with homework or whatever? What advice would you give teachers who just are feeling the anxiety with the day-to-day?
It's a tough one. It's kind of a twofold or two different answers. One is to control what you can control and really own it. So you mentioned like classroom management or behavior. Like, what is something that you can do tangibly to better your classroom? Whether it's a routine that you can implement or some sort of engagement strategy that you can use. So trying new things and control what you control in that regard. And then the second, I think sometimes we take ourselves too seriously and our role a little bit too seriously. I think at the high school especially, I don't know about elementary and junior high, but I think sometimes we feel like our class is the end-all be-all for a student's education and their professional life and everything. And I think we have to remind ourselves of our younger selves, our high school selves or elementary selves, and realize that, like, yes, these classes are important. I'm not saying that by any means, but the moments that we have, the memories that we make in those classes are just as important as what you're learning. So kind of taking a deep breath sometimes.
Yeah. I was going to say, taking ourselves too seriously. You haven't seen our dress-up days at the elementaries or anything, have you? Because we don't take ourselves too seriously.
That's good.
There's a lot of dress-up days, a lot of good stuff, a lot of making fun, but it really is centered around the memories, right? All those things that we talk about, all the curriculum and all the things that we're doing to make sure that they get the best education possible. The kids are probably going to remember that time that you shot a balloon across the classroom to talk about air pressure. That's what they're going to remember. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. Now, everything in between is really, really important, but those are the things that will probably stick out. Like you said, maybe not take yourself so seriously and enjoy the time that you have with them while you have them.
Yeah.
And I think that we do a pretty decent job with that in Rock Island. I've seen a lot of really, really neat things. I got to be in a different school, just kind of walking through about a week ago, and there's some really, really neat things going on building to building. And, just you, Mike, with some of these programs that you're sharing here, it's great stuff. It really, really is. So,
Mike, you have talked about many things in your passion and students, but what we haven't really had is a specific story. And I'm wondering, with all the impact you've had on students, I'm sure there are many, many great stories where you've made a lasting impact on a student, and you've been able to find out that was the case. But I'm wondering if you'll share with us and our viewers a personal story about student or group of students that really motivated you and inspired you the way you've talked.
Yeah. That's a tough question. Looking back, there's been a lot, and
12 years is a long time.
I know it's getting
older now.
Oh, it's getting harder and harder. So this isn't teaching per se, but I was also the girls soccer coach for 10 years, and the program had struggles at the start. when I first came on. I actually was a first-year teacher and then was head coach my first year, which was looking back was probably not something I should have willingly signed up for.
There's your story about stress and anxiety right there.
But through the years, working on building the program, working with the Rock Island Football Club, the feeder organization, and just putting in the work to get our program to where we wanted it to be, and winning a regional championship for the first time with that group of girls in 2019. And just seeing them work towards something and having a tangible outcome. I think sports is a really good opportunity for that. We don't always have that in education per se, because there isn't like a trophy at the end of the tunnel or the work that you're putting in. Right. But I would say that group was just, I think, what our school district, our community embodies. It was just hard work, right? It wasn't players who were playing for these elite clubs all around the country. It was homegrown. It was them working in their off season. And we saw that with the boys just now recently, right? With their success. I love every time I'm leaving school, and even sometimes getting to school, there's just a group of boys playing soccer on the field, right? And that's what separates our community, our school district, is that grit, that hard work, that passion for doing what they love. And so I don't have an individual like specific story with a student, but just I think getting those stories that embody the character of our students, of our families, and the community is what I live for.
I think that's interesting. Now, as Ian said, I was a high school teacher and administrator, and then I was a junior high principal for 10 years, and now I'm in my 4th year at the elementary level. And a lot of times I feel like it's hard for the elementary teachers, because at the high school level, when students are graduated, there are lots of opportunities through the year for them to talk about their favorite teacher or to share anecdotes about, this class or whatever, and then they go on and they publish things, or they come back, they're older, they have a little more voice. And here, the elementary teachers put in all this time, but the kids are little and they're moving on, and they don't get to receive some of the comments probably. We do from families. Like the families are wonderful and share how pleased they are with their education of their children. But I think that's one of the benefits of being a high school teacher, is those individuals themselves will come back and compliment. Yeah. Or share how much that teacher made the difference in their life. Yep. I mean, there's nothing greater.
We get hugs. We get hugs in the hallway. Yeah. We get hugs. So maybe they don't express it verbally or anything like that, but we get lots of hugs.
When I look back at like my most memorable teachers, they are in the elementary though, because you're there all day, and and that teacher is a lot more than just a teacher. They fill a lot of different roles, and absolutely. And so I don't know. I think each age group, they may be a different level of recognition, but I think some of the most memorable are at those impressionable ages.
Yeah, and I think that might be why the world that John and I live in with elementary is because it is all day long, and it is everything. You need to be everything. You need to be instructor. You need to be, parts of the caregiver.
Counselor.
All of it, right? And that can be stressful. We take a lot of that on, and I'm not saying just in the elementary, but I know that that's a kind of a point of emphasis, that we really have got to make sure that they have some time to take care of themselves, and if they need to step away for a second or two or whatever, that, because it's a lot. You've got 20 kids, 25 kids that are in there, making sure that they're growing and moving along, and that is far beyond the academics sometimes, far beyond that. So that appreciation, like I said, those hugs, those high fives and things like that we got to remember those. We got to remember those little ones.
Absolutely.
So, yep.
Well, we're coming down towards the end of this first episode, and once again, coming back to where Ian and I started with trying to develop a podcast, is to counter the negative rhetoric in our society. And so I wondered if you had any thoughts about, to the outsiders, to not people inside Rock Island education, but what would you say to the policymakers, to our communities who may not know exactly what's happening in our schools? What advice would you have for them, or what comments would you say to help them understand a little bit better about what's happening in the Rock Island Milan School District, or in schools in general?
I would say, are you talking about community members in our community, or just, I guess, in general?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I guess what I'm thinking about is picture yourself on some feed, and
Okay.
there's a video where somebody's negatively talking about education, the kids today, or I'm going to get out of education. And there are people who aren't in education that see that. And I don't think they have a true understanding of what really is happening in our schools. And I wonder if there's any comments that you would like to make to them to give them a better perspective of what's really happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes to my point earlier of like you see what you want to see, and so when you're looking for those positive moments, they exist all the time, whether they're going to make news coverage or not. But they're happening all the time. The fact that we do have 40 students pursuing education, and that number continues, and they love their experience because they're working with children. To me, there's no better joy than that, and seeing that the light bulb and seeing the learning click and things like that, and they're getting that hands-on experience. So to me, I think the fact that we have so many young people wanting to pursue it, there's your evidence, right? People who are in education as students but they want to pursue it, that's your evidence to me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's neat.
I think there are programs out there, teacher programs right now, that might not have 40 total kids that are interested. You know what I mean? At the higher level. So that's a huge, huge feather in our cap, to have this. But I want to just kind of add on to some of the things you were saying, that grit and hard work, right? I think that we do have kind of a gritty feel to what we do, and we do work really, really hard for our kids, for our families, for our community. And I think that's awesome that we can hear that we're going to have another generation, a legacy of kids that are hopefully going to continue some of that hard work and grit that we have here in Rock Island.
We've kind of developed a new motto this year. Ever since coming to Rock Island, I have stressed to my staff at RICMS that they just work so hard, and they will do whatever they possibly can to help students and to help their families. And then we've gone through some tragedy lately, and one of our teachers, Shea Smith, she sent an email to our staff saying, Mr. Hawley always says we work hard, but we love hard. and they absolutely do. And I noticed that throughout the district as soon as I came here, like first month. There is so much compassion. There is so much empathy. There's so much love. There's some hard stuff too. Like, I'm going to help you drive to get there. There's some push. It's not all lovey-dovey all the time. Right. But there is no doubt that from what I've seen in my 3 years in Rock Island, there are just so many teachers who care about Rock Island, that care about the students, that care about the families. And obviously you are a great example of that, Mike. Everybody in the district knows you. You're involved in so many things, and you can just see it on your face. You work hard and you care. So thanks for all you do.
Yes. Can I add to your point too, and give the flip side too of teachers are working extremely hard in the schools, but I would also say that the community is also working extremely hard to support our schools as well. Anytime, like for Culture Fest, like I mentioned, anytime we reach out to outside organizations or families, they are drop everything, show up on a dime. We don't have a single organization say no, we can't attend or we don't want to. So I think it works both ways, right? There's so much pride and tradition in our community, and wanting to see the school district do well because they know that that's our future generation, future leaders of the community.
Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate the time that you gave us today. Being the first one can be the hardest one. So thank you for being willing to sit down with us and kind of muddle through this, but a lot of great inspiration shared today. I'm glad that we did it, and hopefully we can continue to do it. Mike, spread the word. Okay, lots of good stuff going on here, and keep it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you all for listening. And hopefully you'll tune in to our episode number 2.
And now we'll take you to our episode with Deidre Dunbar.